all names and all forms in this creation are nothing but the manifestation of that one supreme consciousness. And each one is actually having all the attributes of consciousness because of the operation of mind which is inherent in every jiva. And the mind itself has its own limitations based on its own experiences of the past. It perceives the attributes in itself and in others based on its limitations, and therefore it projects that limitations on individuals, and therefore creates a cycle of likes and dislikes, qualities based on names and forms. And based on our liking for certain attributes, we create archetypes. And those archetypes become manifested, and since more and more people believe in it, they become a reality for us. So therefore, all of us, including all gods and goddesses that we worship, including the 9 Devis that we worship during Navaratri, are actually all archetypes on whom we have projected names, forms, qualities, attributes. And the reason that we did that was because we can learn what each manifestation, what each archetype actually represents, so that we can acquire those qualities in us. We can understand that in every manifestation of the divine and the divine feminine, in this case, are attributes that need to be part of our consciousness, our awareness, so that from the limited we grow into the unlimited. So each of these 9 Devis represents certain attributes, and each of these are present in all of you who are present here. There are 8 present, and the 9th is Saima, culmination of all the 8. And each one represents certain attributes, but each one has come now to get liberated, because we need to acquire all the attributes and be free from this whole idea of attributes and names and forms. We have to expand from the limited form name to the formless, to the attributeless, because that is when the real merger with Shiva happens. As long as they keep holding on to their attributes and to their own perceptions and limitations that they carry in the mind, they'll always be limited to this form. But it's time for this liberation to happen when you break the boundaries and reject all the labels, all the ideas, all this that we have been carrying in ourselves, which through culture, which through religion, which through customs has been imprinted on our psyche, and to expand ourselves beyond this limited folklore and to become part of the one all-pervading reality, that one all-pervading consciousness, and to merge in that oneness. It's not a physical merger with any archetype, because as long as you keep experiencing these archetypes, it is still the interference of the mind and mind's own preferences and its choices. We are unconsciously in the subconscious also always gravitating towards what we like and dislike. It is so inherent in us that we gravitate towards what we like, what we feel more comfortable with. But we have to travel beyond all that and be choiceless, attributeless, with no like and dislike, with no particular preference. And we have to reject every idea that comes in our mind. The mind is so clever that it projects and we don't know when we fall for it. It's a make-believe world. The whole world is an illusion created by our mind, and it traps us. And we have to reject every idea. Ramakrishna Paramahansa was in love with the Devi, and he used to yearn for this Devi, and he wanted to see her. And he would keep desiring so intensely that the Devi would finally come and give darshan in exactly the way he was yearning. And then he lost his peace, because his peace was always dependent upon the presence of the Devi. In her presence, he would find fulfillment, and the rest of the time he was spending in only yearning. Till he understood one day that this very idea of the Devi had to be overcome. Then one day he took out the sword, and when the Devi came, he started to cut her into pieces. It is not a physical cutting. It is cutting this whole idea of this obsession. To be free from the prisoner of a form and a name. And that was the day when he became one with the unlimited. Because that idea for which he had panged and yearned overcame it that day. He went beyond that limited projection. So all that we see and all that we experience is based on what we are yearning from within. Because as I said, we attract everything in our lives. And the idea of this, if you understand, is only to learn that these are all attributes. The attributes in the 9 mothers. The mother is the most powerful aspect. It is the creator of the creation. Because from mother everything is born. And so from the goddess, from the Devi, we have to understand that she is the all-powerful. In her womb, everything is born. And we have to acquire that power, that strength within us. And we have to transcend these limitations, because whenever the mother starts to yearn for something, like Sita Ma yearned for, and the desire came for a golden deer, it just brought her only problems after that. This mother has to become desireless. This mother has to move beyond the limitations of its likes and dislikes, of its pain and comfort and discomfort. And we have to transcend Every little challenge comes and we fall for it. The awareness we lose. And we have to use these 9 nights. They are very special nights. And yearn this time for a merger. Not in a physical or a projected entity. That is not a merger. Those are still fulfillment of basic desires. We have to go beyond. Because consciousness is attributeless. It is formless. It has no name. It carries the name of all. It carries the fragrance of immortality. That, if you don't pine for, you will get only trinkets, loose change. You will be given the crumbs to eat like we feed to the dogs. And if you are happy with eating those crumbs, all your life only you will get crumbs. You have to reject the crumbs and say, there are some dogs who reject if you give them something because they're not interested. You have to be disinterested when these archetypes and forms come to you to give you something. That's the strength that we have to cultivate, and that is what takes us to the end game. As long as you are happy with the crumbs, that's all you get. And when you say no, which requires strength, which requires willpower, which requires understanding, that is when the consciousness understands you are ready for the real thing. Remember Nachiketa when he went to Yama, asking for that wisdom, that knowledge, through which he could conquer the whole idea of death, where he could remain liberated without being affected by karma, by birth, by rebirth. Yama tempted him with all the wealth in this world. He said, forget, little boy, for this silly knowledge. Let me give you something which is bigger than this. And he offered him unimaginable wealth, the wealth of all the worlds. He tempted him with a heaven-like existence for the rest of his planetary presence. He tempted him with all the beautiful women and the apsaras and the damsels. He offered him song, wine and dance for the rest of his presence. But that little child, 7 years of age, had that clarity, and he said no. Perhaps it may have been easier for him because he was just 7. He did not know what all that meant. And it was only at his insistence, persistence, and steadfastness where he said, no, I only want that knowledge that will free me from the bonds of this limited existence. And Yama had to, after using all his charms and skills on this little boy to tempt him, because he had already given him the 3 wounds, had to impart to this little boy that wisdom. So when you are being offered a boon, when you are being offered a choice, What is it that you're using for? Are you still interested in the crumbs, the trinkets that the Father came? Father came to give us something else, but we are still interested in the crumbs. And when we observe our day-to-day living, you should closely reflect upon your actions. Evaluate it internally. And what are we still yearning for? Until this understanding goes deep inside each one of you, until these projections that you see in your mind and these others who share these projections with you, if you think they are real, you're never going to come out of it. This too is a huge illusion. It's a big trap. It's another supermarket of traps. Unless you become steadfast, unless you have clarity, extreme clarity of what you're seeking, you can get lost in this most beautiful and attractive world. It's like a supermarket where you go and all the shelves are decked up with all the things that you like. Some you may have overcome the temptations of, but there are other wares that are being sold that you get attracted to. And like a child, we start filling our hands with all these little toys. Temptation is written all over us. If A doesn't get you, then B gets you. If B doesn't get you, then S gets you. If S doesn't come, you will fall for the next one. Rise, rise, rise. Uttishta Jagrat. Unless you arise and awake, you will keep falling and keep getting up. Every time you fall, it's harder to get up. If you want to fall or rise, it's up to you. I would say don't fall, only rise. And rise up to the highest. Why keep doing this again and again? Why not just pine and yearn instead of discussing these illusions that you think they are real? Instead of getting obsessed with them, why don't we just talk about the permanent, that which we are not able to grasp, that which we yearn for? If the entire day of these 9 days go into the pining of that releases you from this constant game. And if you do that, then it's definite that you will be victorious. You will come out of it because the times are such, they're supporting you. You're here. What did you say? North Star, wish fulfilling tree. And if you don't take advantage, I would say it would be a shame. So what's your goal? What's your target? What is it? Do not let people who come distract you. Do not let petty conversations take you over. Do not lose sight of your goal. And do not keep company of people who are just interested in all this only. Say no and move ahead. Every time a temptation from such experiences come, nah, not for me. I want something else. Because consciousness is always trying to tempt us. How easily I see distraction. I see the distraction on your faces. This awareness has to come from within, that we get tempted and distracted. Till you experience this stillness, where there is no projection. There is no image. There is no presence. There is only emptiness. There is only this one unlimited ocean of stillness, of peace. Nowhere to go, nowhere to be, no experience, just this void, eternal void. Samasta loka sukhino bhavantu. Samasta loka sukhino bhavantu. Samasta loka sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.